Well, another missing persons case we're hoping to draw attention to tonight. Families in the community come together at the Tulalip Gathering Hall for a ceremony to raise awareness about a missing tribal member. Today marks exactly a year since Mary Ellen Johnson Davis was reported missing to police by her husband. She was last seen 2 weeks earlier on November 25th, walking east on Fire Trail Road on the Tulalip Reservation. She was supposed to meet a friend to catch a ride to Arlington, but she never arrived. At the event today for her and 6 other missing Native people, Mary's sisters told us they're hoping a new $60,000 reward being offered by the Tulalip tribe and the FBI will help them find out what happened to her. They describe Mary as a strong, compassionate, and loving person, and they're grateful for the attention her case is now getting.
A lot of people coming together that don't know us, our family, but showing support and raising awareness for missing people of any color.
Tulalip Tribal Police Chief Chris Sutter says they do have some persons of interest on their list in Mary's disappearance, but they are hoping for more leads from the public. He says they're also working on a community response plan to change the narrative that cases like this don't get solved.
These crimes are often perpetrated on the most vulnerable victims, and families and victims have not always had a strong voice and advocacy.
Mary Ellen Johnson Davis is 40 years old, 5'6", 115 pounds. She has a scar across her nose and a birthmark on the back of her neck. She also has a noticeable sunburst tattoo on her upper right arm. If you have any information about her whereabouts, please contact Tulalip Tribal Police at 360-716-5918. And again, there's a $60,000 reward being offered for any information that helps solve her case. You can find all of this information on our website, fox13seattle.com.
On the evening of November 25th, 2020, Mary Ellen Johnson Davis, a 40-year-old Tulalip woman, vanished from the Tulalip Reservation in Washington State. She had lived a difficult life, but things were finally starting to turn around. She had recently received a $400,000 settlement from the state for child abuse, money that could have given her a fresh start. But instead of a new beginning, Mary Ellen became another missing woman in a disturbing pattern of disappearances among indigenous communities. Mary Ellen was last seen at a house on Fire Trail Road, a stretch of land on the Tulalip Reservation known for its tight-knit community and its problems with drugs and crime.
That's a pretty long road. There's like swamps out there, there's meadows, there's woods. So, you know, there is a lot that could have happened.
She had been staying at the home of a friend, and according to witnesses, she was planning to leave, but she never did. No one can say for sure what happened next. The person who reported her was her husband, but almost immediately, his actions raised suspicions. After reporting her disappearance, he left the state and changed his number, cutting off communication with Mary Ellen's family. Mary Ellen's sisters, Jerry Davis and Nona Blua, knew something was wrong. They didn't trust law enforcement to give her case the attention it deserved, so they began their own investigation. They combed the reservation for any sign of Mary Ellen, putting up posters, asking questions, and refusing to let her story fade away. The police initially treated Mary Ellen's case as just another missing person, but her sisters knew it was more than that. They believed she had been abducted and possibly murdered. Their concerns were later validated when the FBI got involved and Tulalip Tribal Police reclassified the case as an abduction homicide. Mary Ellen's disappearance is not an isolated incident. Across the U.S. and Canada, Indigenous women are murdered or go missing at disproportionately high rates. Many cases are never solved, and families are often left without answers. The crisis is so severe that it has been referred to as an epidemic.
Advocates and researchers meet with lawmakers and police to discuss solutions to a problem of missing Native American women.
It's an epidemic that's impacting hundreds of Indigenous families. ABC4's Rosina Nguyen explains what they're proposing.
We first introduced you to Sandra Lee 5 months ago.
To this day, we still don't know who it was that murdered my sister.
Lee's sister, Priscilla, was murdered 35 years ago on Navajo Nation. Since then, there's been no closure, no answers, no justice for her family. Advocates with Restoring Ancestral Winds say they're working to change that here in Salt Lake City. In a presentation Monday morning, they presented alarming data to police and lawmakers.
When you have an awareness, people come together. When people come together, we figure out a plan. When we have a plan, we can move it forward. And that's what really the conclusion that I drew is that we have a lot of work to do.
Researchers say Salt Lake City ranks as the 9th highest in the nation with 24 cases. But advocates believe that's likely an undercount because of poor data collection. They say in order to tackle the epidemic, we must start with the numbers.
We are recommending that we create a task force, a statewide task force, to study the scope and prevalence of the murdered missing Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit crisis in the state of Utah.
Police say they're on board with the recommendation and plan to continue the dialogue with advocates.
I'm very hopeful that change will happen.
Reporting in Salt Lake City, Rosie Nguyen, ABC4 News.
In 2023, her story gained new attention with the release of Missing from Fire Trail Road, a documentary that follows her sister's tireless efforts to find the truth.
I don't think she's gone. I think that she might have been taken against her will.
We're here on the Tulalip Indian Reservation. That's the road that we believe Mary Davis Johnson was last seen, Fire Trail Road.
Just before she disappeared, her and her husband, they weren't getting along very good.
He took all her money, didn't leave her nothing. No one's seen him since.
Native women like Mary Ellen are missing because they're easy prey.
There is transportation of women across state lines. They can be moved, murdered, and their bodies dumped or buried.
Tribal governments do not possess criminal jurisdiction over non-Indians. That rule has created havens on reservations for murderers and rapists.
3 out of 5 Native women will be sexually assaulted. We have a high record of non-Native men assaulting Native women.
This work that we do is work from our heart. It's from our spirit.
This genocide has to be acknowledged.
We're fighting for visibility. We're fighting for human rights.
Somebody knows what happened to Mary.
I have nothing to hide. Man, that's just weird that she's not around anymore.
He's lying about something.
She was lost. She wanted to find who she was and where she came from.
It's a history that's been buried intentionally.
We're taking a step in the right direction to what we used to be.
It's about stopping the generational trauma and the hurt, but we're still being challenged with this.
The documentary highlights not only Mary Ellen's case, but also the systematic failures that allow so many Indigenous women to disappear without justice. As of 2024, Mary Ellen Johnson Davis is still missing. No arrests have been made, and her family is still searching for answers. The FBI continues to investigate, but her case remains open and unsolved.